Cradle me where southern skies can watch me with a million eyes, or sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves. Cover me with heaven's blue and let me dream a dream or two, or sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves. I'm breezing along with the breeze, hearing a song to the trees. Oh, that fine melody caressing the shore, familiar to me, I've heard it before. That's the Southland, don't I feel it in my soul? And don't I know I've reached my goal? Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves. Lullaby and good night. Here comes sleep and rock-a-bye. The moon is high, stars drifting by, breezy breeze in the trees and shit. I got sleep. That starlit reverie returns to me, so sweet. The moon is on the rise, so close your sleeping eyes and don't despair and comb your hair and toss and turn, 'cause all you need is leaves, leaves and leaves and leaves, trees and a breeze, just these, and you will glide to your dreams tonight.
Emerson.
No worries. Don't worry.
Cradle me where southern skies can watch me with a million eyes, or sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves. Cover me with heaven's blue, let me dream a dream or two, or sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves. I'm breezing along with the breeze, oh. That fine melody caressing the shore, oh. That's the Southland, don't I feel it in my soul? And don't I know I've reached my goal? Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves.
Yeah, I love, wow, what a great arrangement, Mark.
That's a great arrangement by Jameson Trotter.
Beautiful.
And
Is that, did you write the lyrics, or was that like a Meredith D'Ambrosio thing? Or
No, that interlude was my lyric.
very nice.
Thank you. And that's, of course, Larry on guitar, Larry Coons, and Mike Garola on bass, and Kevin Winard on drums, and that's Jameson on piano.
Nice, really nice. You sound
Thanks.
great.
Oh,
Wonderful
thank you.
arrangement. That's an amazing arrangement.
Well, Jameson's charts are just always really inventive. He's really mixing up meters, and he's just really got a nice feel for it. He makes
Yeah.
it. He makes everything unique. I love his
Yeah.
arrangements. I recorded a bunch of his stuff in 2015 too. I just love his stuff. So yeah, we did that at Paul Taverner's. You know Paul?
I do, and that's right.
Big-
Literally walking distance from my house.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
We should come over for lunch after we finish.
absolutely.
I love Paul. He's such a nice, gentle spirit and so supportive and likes singers. And he's done some great vocals out of that studio.
Yes, he has. He's a good mixer.
Yeah, he really is fast. But he's mastering. He's doing everything. He recorded it and he's mixing and he's also mastering.
Yeah, yeah.
And
he's a great drummer too.
yeah, that's what I hear. I'm not that familiar with his drumming, but I know he went to Berkeley and he's a solid musician, and he's the cat.
Yep, big city recording.
Yes, we love it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark Christian Miller, and we're scooting Mark in at an unusual time and using the recording to post again on Wednesday. And so, thank you for doing it at an off time.
Well, thank you for accommodating me. Appreciate it.
So, I have a question about your beautiful arrangement. I remember, and I hope this isn't a difficult question, but I remember when I was talking to Denise Donatelli once about her new stuff. And she said, well, the good news is I have these amazing arrangements. And she said, and the bad news is I have these amazing arrangements. In other words, like when she would travel, it would be a little difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not an arrangement that you just throw out in front of somebody and they can
Right.
play it like they're playing a standard.
Right.
So have you had any experience along those lines?
I have. When I was in New York with Ronnie White at Midtown Jazz last pre-pandemic, he's just a particular kind of piano player. He just doesn't pretend to be a strong reader. He just knows the tunes. He's been playing and working live for many years, and he just really knows the repertoire. So we just basically called tunes. I sent him keys and songs ahead of time. We did one chart. It was not our strongest material of the concert. And so, in fact, somebody had taken me aside earlier and said, Ronnie's great and you'll be wonderful, but just, you're better off just calling tunes. And I sort of knew that anyway, but I thought, well, we'll try this one thing. And it didn't work quite as well as it might have. Not his fault, not a complaint. It was lovely working with him and there at the church in Midtown. And so, you just have to kind of know who you're picking up if you're going out. Denise obviously tours a lot more than I do, but I do a show up in Seattle, and I've had the same trio basically. So, and what I do is I send them the charts ahead of time and we have a rehearsal. Ronnie, the thing with Ronnie in New York was we just met at the church and ran through some stuff and did the show. And that's fun too. I love calling tunes. There's a lot of fun spontaneity with that. And I'm used to doing that, working in the clubs all those years. And so that's not a problem for me. But I had sort of, gotten to a point where I wanted to do arrangements. I was kind of a little bored with that standard format of I'll do a verse and then the piano will take a solo, and it can be very formulaic.
Yes.
So I kind of wanted to get away with that. So that's when I approached Josh Nelson and Jameson to do some real arrangements for me.
Yeah.
But when I go to Seattle, I email them the charts ahead of time, and then we actually have a rehearsal the day before.
Yeah.
So that makes all the difference in the world. And then we do arrangements up there, more arrangements.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
yeah. The joys and the horrors of being on the road.
yeah. A lot of taping and, taping the charts together, making sure you're all ready to go. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, even for like a one little night somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm comfortable at Egan's in Seattle. I've been there. God, if it happens at the end of October, it'll be, I think, the 4th time I've been up there.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's a cute little room.
Did that, was that a replacement for one of the other rooms or no?
No, it's been there a while, but it's kind of under the radar. They're not really, they're just kind of laid back about how they run it, which I love. But Tula's closed, and that was sort of the
That was a
mid-sized room
cool
downtown. So it was yeah, that was sad. So there was Jazz Alley, and there was Tula's, and then the Egan's was kind of off to the side over there in Ballard. So I think now that Tula's is gone, Egan's has kind of picked up some of that slack, and it's a tiny place, so that makes sense for me. So it's not a lot of pressure to bring a lot of people in. And I have friends up there, and I'm sort of known up there as well, so that certainly helps. And it's very intimate little space, and I love going up there. I always take a little vacation and do a little sightseeing when I'm up there. I love Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's beautiful.
Yeah, and a good jazz scene, a good solid jazz scene, some good musicians,
Yeah.
and a lot of fans. And well, you had Nick Anderson on recently, and he's done great things up there with his series. So they've got an audience.
Of course, Greta Matassa, she's
great. She came down here and did a house concert a couple of years ago. I saw her.
Yeah.
Maybe you were at that. It was just really, she's a great improviser.
She swings her ass off.
She does.
Yeah. I met her in Japan, actually.
Oh, wow.
We were both there. There were these 2 Japanese singers who had come to the US. I forget what it was for. It was for some jazz workshop or festival, and that's where they met Greta, and then they started bringing her over, and it was great. I mean, yeah, it was really fun. And then I've been going there for many years, so we just happened to be there at the same time, and it was really fun to meet her there.
Yeah,
we sang together, and it was fun.
Very cool. Yeah, she's a good singer, great singer.
Yeah, she's great. And her husband is such a great bass player. Do you know him?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I know of him. I tried to get him on the gig, and he was busy. I got Chris Seimer, who's also excellent, who used to live here. So they've got some good players up there. There are people to choose from. So
who moved up there too is the guitarist Jamie Finley.
Oh, I'm not that familiar with Jamie, but I certainly know the name.
He's a wonderful guitar player if you ever need guitar up there.
Yeah, I might be up there myself at some point. One of my dearest friends lives up there, and we've talked about maybe ending up there, and I'm very comfortable in Seattle. I tend to go in late summer, so I don't get the full brunt of that weather, which, it can get cold and rainy and dark, and so I need to go up more during the winters to know what I would be getting myself in for. It's the last few summers there have been glorious. I mean, just glorious. So it's a pretty city.
It really is pretty. And I've done some work for Nick, and those house venues that he gets are like, amazing. Nice. There was one that had an elevator in it. Did you ever go to that house?
No, I've been to a couple of them, but I didn't do the elevator one.
I think that was the one where the house owner was she had made a cookbook. She was really a great cook.
The food up there is unreal.
Yeah.
No,
he only does one a month.
I'm not sure. It just so happened he was doing one while I was there, and Barbara Morrison was booked in. So I just showed up and surprised her. She didn't even know I was in Seattle. So I showed up, and that was a great, and it was a smaller home, but just gorgeous, overlooking the water, and just really, really pretty. Yeah, he's got a very special thing going up there.
Yeah, it's pretty brilliant, pretty fun.
Yeah.
So
I thought about doing something like that here, but that's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
That's a lot of work, and there's all sorts of parking issues and neighbors and live music, and it's tough. As you know, there are some good house concerts around LA, but to do a series like that and publicize it and do a regular thing, it's just a big task. I give him a lot of credit.
Very big task, yeah, I know. And he has several different venues too. So like working at the same time, basically, and yeah. Yeah, it's a lot, it's a lot of work.
He's a fun guy. I love Nick.
He's great. Yeah, and he's a really good singer.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw some video of him with Anita Wardell,
Mhm.
scatting back and forth, and it was really fun. He's good. He's a good scatter. But
Yeah, he is.
I don't know
He
if I
uses music.
knew that you were a piano player too. How much do you play?
I play every day. I practice a lot, but I don't play out live. And I've been I've been at this for a long time. I started studying with Jane Getz back in
Yeah.
the 90s, and I studied with Jane privately for 3 years. And I'd been through the music program at LA City College and had some class piano there, but I had my theory and stuff. And that's a 2-year program. It's not, and that was it's a good school for music. It always has been a good school for music. So I had some piano there, and then I started with Jane privately and was gigging a lot with her. And then I started with Joyce Collins. And I
Yeah.
studied with Joyce for 3 years and did a lot of gigging with Joyce. So I've had some really good piano instruction, and they've been two sort of distinctive approaches. I'd say Jane more in the Bud Powell vein, very linear
Hmm.
and very muscular, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
She's a really, really great piano player and a great improviser. And I would say Joyce more in the more lyrical,
Bill
more into the
Evans-y or
Bill
something.
Evans,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
more into tasty voicings. So it's nice to get the two different approaches. And also with Joyce, she taught at Dick Grove for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
And when Dick Grove left us, he left her all of his materials.
Mm.
So she was using a lot of that stuff, and I still use it to this day. So I try to practice every day.
Yeah.
My routine is that I'll get up. I love being up early. I usually go to bed early and then get up early. And I'll sit at the electric keyboard, of course, with the headphones on at 6 a.m. in the morning. And my favorite day is if I can get in 90 minutes before I start my day and go into my office. That's how I like to practice. But I'll practice in the afternoon. I just played for about 90 minutes this afternoon. And I'm trying to do more sight reading, and it's coming along. I mean, it's coming along. There's a psychological component to that for me. I'm so used to being a stand-up singer and working with really great piano players. So, I mean, when you hear Josh Nelson or Jameson Trotter or Mauro Ruiz, these guys, I mean, when you start late, you're never going to play at that level. Although you can do a lot of tasty stuff as a vocalist. There's a wonderful singer out of Chicago, and I'm not going to be able to remember her name, Alyssa Allgood. I pulled it up, Alyssa Allgood. And she plays piano, and she's just really good. What she does is just right. And she keeps her head up, and it's not like she's being this fancy piano player, but it's perfectly fine. But she's really got it down in terms of playing for your own vocals. It's kind of a whole art form. So I need to break the ice and just do it. I'm hoping to do one number in Seattle at the keyboard, just something simple. And it's really more of just an unfamiliarity that's sort of keeping me from doing more of that. But I practice a lot. It's been a huge help for my singing, obviously.
That's so cool. I'm so jealous. I've tried on and off. I even tried this year. I took a few flute lessons because flute had been my
Oh yeah.
instrument for years, and it was great. I took a lesson with Lori Bell, who's
Oh
great.
yeah, she is.
But I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a Gemini. I don't know. I have all these hello over here. Woo, oh, hello over here, and so I'm just. It's like it's hard to. For me to set a real practice routine in. I do try and practice singing every day. But then even with that, there's so many other things that I would like to practice even regarding the singing, and it's just the time it's difficult for me particularly, but
Well, Cathy, you've always had so much going on. You're always involved in stuff. I mean, I remember you and I go back a couple years in this town, and I remember back in the day when we were getting listed in the LA Times. back when Zan Stewart and
Yeah.
people were here. And I would always say there'd be Mike Campbell and there'd be Cathy Segal-Garcia. I mean, you just work, you know, you've always been out there working. So you're a busy gal. So you can't do everything.
I can't.
No. Well, maybe you can, but it's just hard. Like you said, there are so many distractions and we have to keep ourselves together. But the piano has become a real integral part of my routine. So I've just made it that way. And of course, during the pandemic lockdowns, it was particularly helpful, but I was practicing a lot before then. But it's been really helpful throughout these last couple of years to have that focus, that positive focus. I tell you, time just flies when I'm at the keyboard. It just goes by so fast. I can't believe it. But yeah, I'll unleash it on the public at some point with fair warning. And I'm pretty good. I'm okay. But well,
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be really fun.
Well, what I'd like to do is get together with somebody who, you know, Joyce Collins was really a lovely singer as well as a great piano player.
Yeah, she was.
She really understood how to do both.
Mm-hmm.
She was good friends and contemporaries with Jerry Southern, who of course to play and sing. I mean, Jerry was sublime. And some of the other ones who did that, Shirley Horn, of course, and she was really at that level. So when her lessons were really, she really could tell you when to play and what to play and when not to play and how to approach all that. I don't know who teaches that anymore so much.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of an art form I wish there were more people who were doing that. I know I keep badgering Josh Nelson for lessons, and I just need to pin him down. He's so very busy.
Yes.
I'd love to study with Josh, who, by the way, has Joyce's old piano.
Oh.
When Joyce was working, she used to do the warm-up shows for CBS for the Mary Tyler Moore Show and all those shows. Back in those days, they had a band instead of a comic or whoever to warm up the audience. And she had the band doing those shows for years, and as a result, she bought this gorgeous piano, and in her apartment there. And then when she passed away, Hussein Jifri got it. And had it for a while. Then he sold it to Josh. So I've been sort of following this piano around town. It's a gorgeous piano. So I'd love to sit down there, sit down and do some work with Josh. But he sings well, by the way. And I keep telling him to sing more. Yes.
Oh.
Every once in a while he'll do a song at the keyboard. He's been doing a lot of streaming during the pandemic, and every once in a while he'll do a vocal. And he's got a really nice natural voice.
I don't think I've heard him sing at all. I don't.
It's funny because I think it makes him nervous, like playing the piano makes me nervous.
Yeah.
It's just an unfamiliarity.
You know, I have to tell you a funny little thing. So I've always played piano, but never fabulously. But I'm good for accompanying my students and for writing, and I keep time and I can transpose and so those things, and I have done the occasional gigs, but usually with an extra player. And but what's funny is I had this teaching gig in Studio City at a Japanese school. So I had a small group of Japanese students there. So I was playing for them, and we were going to do a concert. So we get to the auditorium and I start playing Girl from Ipanema. And all of a sudden, I realized that I have never played in front of people before.
Wow.
I didn't think of it until that moment. So, of course, my playing started crumbling. And I had to really, quickly do a head readjustment. And then I was okay. But that moment was like, oh my God, what am I doing?
It's so weird. And I tell you, it's of course, if you get nervous, it's going to show.
Yeah.
But if you're a singer, it's going to show maybe, I think a little less, because when you start getting nervous and your hands start freezing up, you're done. I mean, you are just done. So, I mean, I would be thinking of nothing but playing in front of people if I'd been in your situation. It's a thing. I don't know what it is. I think, my mother was a wonderful pianist and taught piano and played beautifully.
Yeah.
but she would never teach us because she didn't feel she had the patience to teach her own kids. So she sent us to another lady to teach. I don't know if that has something to do with my piano issues or not, if it goes as deeply as sort of a mother thing, I don't know. That's not going to be that. That's probably too much. But it's, if you can get into the music and learn it from the inside out through the music, you're just better off in general, rather than listening to somebody else's version or working with tapes. Or if you can sit at the keyboard, it's all there and it's all right in front of you, and really understand how the chords are built and how they function and how they move, you're just so much further ahead of the game. It's like a painter knowing about brushes and different pigments and everything. You just have to know the tools of the trade. So I've talked to several, if it's just even just
just confront it, put your hands on the keyboard. But I've talked to several very good arrangers, like really well-known arrangers, who totally taught themselves. They did not go to school for theory or anything. They just
I remember working with an opera teacher in San Francisco who was self-taught. He was brilliant. He taught himself completely. So, and I haven't had a lesson in many, many years. I did hang out with Chris Connor, bless his heart. We miss Chris, but I went out and spent an afternoon with him, just working with the bass player and doing some stuff. And he said, "Man, you're selling your piano short. You're pretty good." And I thought, okay, cool.
Wow.
So what I'd like to do,
that, he means it.
Yeah, Chris did not fool around. And he gave me some great pointers in terms of, play the minor chord when you go into the bridge, play a measure early. It sounds so hip, and just, basic stuff like that. He was a really, really solid bass player, really, really serious guy. But I would love to find a bass player to work with, because I rush in my singing, and I think we all tend to rush, and really in my piano playing. So I work mostly with iReal Pro. So it can be kind of a crutch. I mean, I'm a firm believer in practicing with the metronome and with time. That's really the best way to practice. But I'll dial up a tune on my iPhone on iReal Pro and find the key and the tempo. And you can set it for like 12 choruses and just sit there and woodshed these tunes. And it's great, but it's not the best voicings. It's not always, it's just a computer. So to be in a room and work with a bass player and work on some material, I would love to do that. And I'm really getting ready to call somebody up as people are hanging out together more a little bit. And
cool.
So that's what I really, really want to do, is start working with the bass player on a duo and take that into the Gardenia or someplace and just get my feet wet.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. You just have to do it.
That's great. I love it. If you're looking also for a teacher like Josh, Jeremy Siskind is teaching.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Jeremy. I mean, I've seen some of his stuff online. Yeah, he's great. There's so many good people. Mauro Ruiz. I mean, they're just, and Katina De Luna teaches, and she's a
wonderful musician.
Wonderful musician. I mean, you just don't know about people until you know. So I knew I loved her singing, but I didn't realize what a complete, solid musician she is. She's amazing.
Yeah,
so
she is.
There are a lot of good people. Karen Hammock.
Oh yeah.
Right? I saw Karen at an event a couple of weeks. Well, you were there. The thing for lovely Roger Crane.
Oh yeah.
Karen was running the band, and she's going, "You got to play tunes, Mark. You got to play tunes. You can't play all this technique stuff. You got to work on some tunes." And so I listen to these people. They know what they're talking about.
They
do.
I've been
playing tunes. I've been sight reading, and it's got, oh my God, I'm really picking this up quickly.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you realize you're making some real progress. So,
well, it sounds like you put in so much time, so at this time, I can see why playing tunes would actually make your playing blossom.
It is. And then you work on, maybe I can lay a half tone, whole tone scale there, and I should voice this way, and like a seventh on the bottom. And then you try to, maybe I can do a jazz arpeggio here and lay that in there. And that's really when you're really making progress, I think.
I have to tell you, Mark Massey is a really good teacher.
Oh, he's a wonderful piano player.
He's a great teacher.
I'll bet.
Yeah. So that's another person to consider.
Yeah, we have a wealth of talent here in LA.
I'm going to play something of yours, or at least a little bit of it anyway, from Spotify. Do you mind?
No, I don't. Do I have to listen?
Let's see, where did I put Spotify? Here we go. Mark Christian Miller. Yeah, I'll share the screen so if people, they can go there. And so let's see. You tell me what to play. I'll just play about a minute.
With Betty.
But you mean you singing with Betty?
Well, yeah. Well, or why don't you play Moon Ray from Crazy Moon?
Okay, cool. Now I'm playing about a minute of it.
Yeah.
Don't mind if I stop.
I won't mind at all.
There's nothing left but to dream of things. Why did I say goodbye to love? There's something wrong with the scheme.
Who's on guitar?
That's Larry Coons again.
Oh, okay.
Won't you lend a helping hand? Oh, moon above me.
Beautiful intro.
Moon ray, cast your spell upon my lover. Under this starlit cover, use all your magic charms. Moon ray, let your sweet enchantment bind her. Then I'll awake to find her here in my lonely arms. Once we knew the joy of girl in love with
Wow,
boy.
that sounds so cool. And whose arrangement was that?
Jameson again.
He's very
That's
talented
That's
arranger.
Johnson on piano.
It's Josh on piano.
And Dave Robert on bass and Sammy Miller on drums.
Cool. Oh, that
that was-
sounds great.
Done at Tally Sherwood's studio, another great recording studio, and a great engineer.
Yeah, that's a really good studio. Have you used Eric Astor also?
I have not.
Did you know about his studio and whose it was and stuff?
Tell me.
That was sorry, Andy Waterman's. Remember the name Andy Waterman?
Too.
So Andy Waterman had Entourage in Burbank, or North Hollywood, Burbank on Magnolia.
Right,
That
right.
studio was used a lot, like for the industry people. And Andy Waterman was a great engineer. Julie Kelly used him a little bit too. And then he sold the studio, took one of the pianos, and moved to a house in Chatsworth where he built a studio on the bottom floor.
Mhm.
And then he decided he wanted to go to Nashville, and he sold his whole place to one of his engineers, Eric Astor, a young guy. And so Eric is in there, and it's very similar to Tally's experience, very clean, beautiful sound. Eric is he'd been a guitar player like Tally was a trombone player, great ears. The piano's great. It's a very nice experience as well.
Yeah. We've got some good studios too to choose from. I've always enjoyed Nolan Shahid's studio up there in Pasadena.
Fun.
It's got a really cool vibe. And of course, Nolan is just, I adore him. What a talent. And
Nolan's great. Yeah, he's so
yeah.
cool. And
So
Dory's studio.
Dory has a
Camarillo's
beautiful
studio.
out behind his house there. Yeah. And he's fabulous to work with too. I did some recording with Betty Bryant up at Nolan's. We had so much fun.
Oh, that must have been a ball. Yeah, that must have been fun.
She brings a bar. She brought in, she brought in some ice and some vodka mixers, and we didn't get smashed or anything, but everybody had a little drink to loosen up, and it's like a social thing with her. God, it was just so much fun to record with her.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to interview her. I can't remember. We talked about it, and was I going to go over there with my computer or something like that?
I think you were going to go to her. She's
Yeah.
not driving these days, and I think if I can help with that in any way, let me know. I'll be happy to pitch in and do what needs to be done.
Yeah, good. And as long as we're talking about Betty, tell us about your relationship with Betty. You've been her kind of support for a long time in
Yeah.
various ways, right?
It's just really casual. It's not like we have this business agreement or anything. She's just a friend, and I met her when I was at City College. I met her. I was hosting a jam session at the Cinegrill, midnight summer jazz at the Cinegrill on Saturday nights, and I needed a piano player one night. So I knew Betty from City College. I knew of her, and she had been teaching there and taking some classes there as well. So I just knew her from being around. So I called her up. She came to my house and we rehearsed, and we've been fast friends ever since. So as I started booking more music locally and here and there, I started helping her out with bookings, and we just hang out. We have a great time. She's just a really, really dear friend. And I think just a unique, special talent. She is the queen of time. That lady has the best time on the keyboard I've ever heard in my life. It's at Kansas City approach of hers. And of course, Jay McShann mentored her, and she worked in the clubs on Vine Street in Kansas City back in the day. She's told me great stories about these clubs, and then she came out here in, I think, 52, and just started working immediately in New Hampton Hawes, and she worked at the little club in Beverly Hills, and she just started gigging, and she did a lot of solo work. And then she was sort of known for doing the little clubs up and down the beach. She was sort of there used to be all these little piano bars between Santa Monica and Laguna Beach, back and forth. So she was sort of known as the the go-to person for those clubs along the beach, and she's just been making her living doing it since 1952. And so I do what I can to help. And she was a regular at Descanso Gardens when I had that series for 12 years. And then I got her into this wonderful club, Martini's, in San Diego, which didn't survive the pandemic. It makes me so sad. We went down there for like 5 years. Every August we'd go down there, and we'd go together. And she worked with the local bass player, Rob Thorson, wonderful bass player down there. We'd always fill the place, and that was such a beautifully run venue. It's really broke my heart to see that one go. So I just help her here and there. And then Robert Kyle has also Robert really is her producer in terms of recordings. And Robert is also extremely helpful for her, but he kind of handles all of her recorded stuff. And he worked with her on all the soap opera things she did for Passions, I think it was. I don't really follow the soaps, but she's placed a lot of music in soap operas, and she and Robert worked on that. And then he produced her last record that did so incredibly well. And that record charted, it was like 6 months, and it was like in the top 20 on the jazz charts. I mean, It was hit in the jazz, it was a jazz hit.
Yeah.
it got a lot of radio play, and mostly on the strength of her song Catfish Man, which was like her hit. And it was really a pleasure to see that happen. I didn't really get involved in that directly, but I just loved every moment of it, seeing her do so well with that record. And of course, Robert adores her as well, and they've been friends for a very, very long time. And so he pitches in, and Betty's doing really well. She's got a lot of support. People still want to come and hear her sing and play, and we'll be doing the birthday bash brunch, the Betty Bryant birthday bash brunch, which I produce every year at Catalina, and we're doing it on her actual birthday this year, November 7th. So
I'm gonna write that down.
She'll have her favorite band. It'll be Betty, of course, on piano and vocals, and then it'll be Robert Kyle on reeds, and Kenny Elliott on drums. And I'm not sure who we're going to have on bass. She loves Tom Gargano. Of course, Tom's in New York now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, we love Tom. So, oh gosh, forgive me who the bass player is. I just can't pull the name up right now. And then I'll do a couple of tunes with her. I'll jump on the gig because I'm pushy that way. And we always have a nice time and a good crowd. So, and we just hang out. We go out to dinner, and I'm starting to go to her house and watch her play the piano. It's just so in her DNA, and her voicings are just so simple. She doesn't get crazy with things, but her time is just superb. It's just so laid back and so right. So I'll just sit and watch her at the keyboard, and I go, what did you do there? And it's never complicated. It's just always so perfect.
That's cool. You know,
she's a very, very special.
At the memorial, Karen Hammock, who you know, as you were saying, was leading the gig, and when Betty sat in, Karen was like so into her. You know, she was just and Karen has great timing and feel. So yeah, it was just really cool to be part of the Karen's reaction to Betty. You know, I mean, Betty sounded great.
She really knocked him dead. She always does.
Totally.
She always does. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. She's a very, very special person in my life. Good friend.
So when did you start doing booking and managing?
Well, I was, you know, for all the years I was at City College and working and gigging, I did a lot of gigs in the 90s. I was really busy. And then I thought, well, I should do some piano classes. So I went over to City College, and I was going to sign up for a piano class. And Wes Abbott was in charge of the department at that time. And he was famous, I found this out later, for getting people to sign up as full-time music majors. And he talked me into it. I went in to take a piano class, and when I left, I was carrying a full load in the music program. So I was working as a waiter, which gave me the flexibility and the time to do that. And it was a beautiful restaurant in Beverly Hills, Chaya Brasserie. And so the money was good, and it was fun. And I had a lot of free time to do these classes. So I completed the music program there for 2 years. That's kind of how I met Betty. And that's how I first met Teri Merrill-Aarons, who was the founder of the LA Jazz Society. And she heard me in an honors concert and liked me and started booking me around and putting me with other people. So I guess I'm not really answering your question yet. The booking started, at Chaya. So back to the waiting thing. So they wanted to do a live music night at Chaya Brasserie on Sundays. They wanted to try something new.
Yeah.
So they hired a lovely singer who was very nice, but they just booked her. And so it's hard to sustain that for anybody. So she wasn't pulling in a lot of people Sunday after Sunday, the same kind of show. So a really good friend of mine was in charge of the PR for the restaurant and marketing, Lawrence Moore. And Lawrence said, we've got the best guy right here. He's a waiter here. It's Mark. He does jazz all the time. Let him do it. And they were like, they really didn't want to give it to me, but she pushed it through. So they gave me the Sunday night series. So that's when I started booking that on Sunday nights. And, you know, it was a beautiful restaurant, really a top restaurant, and gorgeous food, really a very prominent restaurant with a deep history. And it's owned by a Japanese family that has been in the business for like 300 years. And their restaurant in Tokyo has been there for like 300 years. Wow. So they know what they're doing. Nice people to work for.
Yeah.
So I booked this, and I made some really horrible mistakes with booking. I mean, I really had to learn on my feet because I'd never done it. And so I had to get the PR together and get the word out. But the one thing I will say to pat myself on the back that I had going for me was a love of the music, and really knowing who the local players were who were good and who could deliver. Not that I hit it out of the park every night, far from it. I did some bookings that maybe were not the best, but then I did some really good stuff. I mean, I booked Sarah Gazzara, bless you.
Thank you.
Sarah was still at USC, I think, at the time. I was booking Sarah, Kathleen Grace, Josh Nelson. I was booking, and they were just sort of getting started. And I gave them bookings. And then I would have people like Stephanie Haynes. I had Stephanie and Dave Mackay in. And then I did some stuff with Paige Cavanaugh. I became friends with Paige. And Paige had a good friend, Bobby Woods, who's a producer in town. And Bobby would rent a baby grand piano for us for our nights with Paige. So I had some really huge nights with Paige and the trio, and I would do a couple numbers.
Paige
So
had a big following too.
he had a really loyal, big following, and they showed up. But Chaya wasn't really set up for music. As beautiful as it was, you're in the corner of the bar, and the acoustic's not the best, and sometimes people talking. But we did have some really good listening experiences in that room over the years. I have to say, people really came in. I used to use Deanie Clark a lot. Remember Deanie Clark? He had the voice of an angel.
Absolutely, my dear sweetheart, Deanie Clark. Yeah.
What a sweetheart. And people just adored Deanie, and he packed them in. Betty brought them in. And then I could take a chance on somebody who I wasn't so sure if they were going to have a big night. That's kind of how you do it. And I'd had that room for 7 years, which I'm really proud of. Even through, they had to stop the music for a year because they didn't have a cabaret license. Nobody bothered to check in. Welcome to show business, right?
Yeah.
So
That's why Bar Fedora stopped too.
Yeah, I that's what I'd heard. But they found out, and they said, you can't do live music in here. But to Chaya's credit, it made them mad. They thought, well, you can't tell us what to do. And so the manager said, we're going to do this again, Mark. And I thought, no, you're not. Pretty much my experience in this town, when it's over, it's over. And you just move on, right?
Yeah.
So, but to their credit, they got the cabaret license and they started it up. A year later, we did another 4 years in there.
Great.
And then the economy tanked in 2007, the Great Recession, and everything stopped. That's, of course, the first thing that got pulled. Because it wasn't a huge money maker, but it was a thing, and it was a lot of people really loved it. I had a lot of regular customers there. So I got my feet wet, sort of, on the front lines booking music that way. And then I had a room on the West Side for a while that came from Chaya, and it was Il Moro.
Right. I think I worked there, right?
You did work there.
Yeah.
And that with lovely owners, once again, a really nice upscale restaurant. These were not dives that I was booking, really nice, but not, once again, you're in the bar. It was kind of a cold atmosphere, nothing to soak up the sound, kind of echoey. And that was not one of my favorites. I had that one for 2 years. And Friday nights, then they asked me to do Thursdays. So I was doing 2 nights a week, and I was not enjoying going out there because it just was such a cold room and the sound was just so echoey. And I wasn't feeling it there. So I wasn't sorry when that one left. I was sorry when Chaya went. But the Chaya music led to my day job. And which I work for a travel and entertainment company. So it's basically a corporate travel management company. And we also have a live booking music because the owner loves live music and loves Latin jazz. And she decided she wanted to help Louis Cruz Beltran. So she brought Louis in one night and found out that we had live music at Chaya. So she contacted me. So I booked Louis, and he had a great night in there. A little too big for that kind of a room, the big sound, but he's so talented. Yeah. And he ended up doing my final night there. She hired me then to work for her full time in her travel company. And I ended up being her executive assistant, which I still am to this day. Oh. So then Louis ended up playing my birthday party when I left. I sort of quit around my birthday. So we had a big party at Chaya. They had a huge party for me. It was really amazing. And Louis played the music, and there were like 100 people there. It was really an awesome night. Then I started working for her full time after that and stopped waiting tables. So, and I still work for her to this day. And then we booked a lot of stuff through Chaya. Then I got the Descanso thing. Really, I just cold called them. I was looking for opportunities for us, so I cold called them, and they ended up having me do that. And I had that for 12 years, that summer series.
God, 12 years.
12 years.
Wow.
So when it ended, I wasn't sad. It's like, oh, it's kind of time to move on. 12 years is a good, healthy run. There's nothing to be embarrassed about with that.
Yeah.
That was a success. It was almost too much of a success because it's a botanic garden. So they have to be aware of the plants and flowers. That's what they're there for. And we were getting 1,000 people a night on that long for those shows.
You were?
Yes.
God.
But they had to cut it back because they couldn't cope.
Yeah.
They were really hard on the groundskeepers, on the staff. They had to try to get everybody out by a certain time after the shows. And it was just too much for them. So they started limiting the audience size.
Right. I remember that.
because we were going from 1,000 down to like 400 or 500, which is still great.
Yeah.
It made me a little bit sad when they started doing that, although I understood why they did it.
Yeah.
And they're great to work for. I mean, obviously we had a good relationship. It lasted 12 years, but sometimes things just need to change for change's sake.
Yeah.
So they wanted to just change it up and do something else. I said, that's fine. I had a great time. Thanks. Keep me in mind for other stuff on down the pike.
Yeah.
But God, I had Bob Minster there. I had Sarah Gazark was a huge draw. Betty did great shows there. Josh did shows there.
Stefan Overhoff.
Yeah, Kristen Korb.
Good.
Did a beautiful show there. Robert Kyle did some wonderful Brazilian jazz. I had Otmaro and Katina come in. And I just wish I could have, booked everybody, because it was such a nice experience. But I only had 12, then we went down to 10 shows a summer. So it's not like I had a ton of things to pass around.
I know, that's true. I know.
Yeah.
I know myself from booking. It's like, I mean, especially, that's why I said Nick Anderson, he only has one a month. And so that's 12 people a year, 12 people.
Yeah.
That's, and for you too. I mean, that, wow, it's just because there's hundreds of people who want a gig,
And deserve it.
Yeah.
But I would have out-of-towners come in if they were here doing something else. I had Aaron Weinstein, who's a really fabulous swing violinist out of New York. And I brought him in to do a night at Vibrato and also a night for me at Discouncil Gardens. That was a wonderful, wonderful weekend with Aaron. Spencer Day came up and did a couple for me. Just because he liked me and wanted to come and do it. And so I could get some out-of-town people if they were here doing something else. It wasn't the kind of budget to justify coming to LA just to do it.
Yeah.
But if you happen to be around doing other stuff, it was a really nice filling gig. It was decent money for that kind of thing. People were still buying CDs then. You could sell a ton of CDs and a built-in huge crowd that adored jazz.
Yeah.
So that was a real wonderful experience.
Yeah.
And then we've done a lot of great stuff with Louis over the years. We got him into Playboy Jazz Festival, which was really fun. We took him to Blues Alley in DC and did that, and did a show through the Smithsonian Institution out on the lawn there for Jazz Appreciation Month with him. Concord Jazz Festival, it was called Sleep Train Jazz Festival at that point with their sponsors. And a lot of fun regional stuff. There's a great series in Coronado concerts that we'll do again. It's a great experience down there, and a lot of stuff through the LA County Department of Cultural Affairs, the concerts in the park, all that stuff. So we've kept him very busy. It's been a hard year for him and for all of us. And some things are starting to happen again, but we're also getting some cancellations again, which I hate to bring up, but it's.
Yeah. I was speaking with somebody, can't remember who's, well, I won't mention names, but anyway, this singer is, she's a well-known singer. And she was saying, I happened to speak to her on a day just last week where she was canceled for this year. And I just thought to myself, this is kind of a funny kind of thought, but I thought, I'm kind of glad that I'm not better known and on tour, because it must be crushing, like I'm working every week. So, I'm happy. I'm doing what I want to do and, getting things done, but that would be pretty crushing. And I mean, that's not her only income. She's a teacher as well. And, I'm sure she does I think she does other smaller gigs too, but yeah, it's just, wow. It's difficult even when you're well known. It's maybe even more difficult,
It's hard enough here on a grassroots level with what we're doing. It's just that first year, just taking thing after thing out of the book, just canceled, and we just had something. We had two things cancel because of COVID. So I'm just, who knows? None of us knows what's coming down the pipe with this madness.
Yeah.
We just have to do the best we can and cope. And
yeah,
we do have some good stuff coming up for Louis, and they're quality things, and it's good money and it's a good experience. He does Spaghettini 3 or 4 times a year. That's a great room.
Ah,
And
cool.
so well run. And Q down there who books it, they just know what they're doing. He was just there a couple weeks ago and filled it. And so we remain hopeful. But then I also do other things through Corniche, and I'll book a guitarist for a restaurant opening or a hotel event or something, just here and there, whatever we can get our hands on. So we keep busy, or we have.
That's cool. You ought to
Yeah.
come by the conference room sometime.
I
Uh,
want,
it's a really nice outdoor uh, um, venue, and actually Luis Conte worked there with his band,
yeah,
and it's really nice. I'll tell you details about it if you want, but yeah, it's just the owner's really nice. The food is excellent, the parking's easy, and it's kind of close to the freeway,
I'm there.
and they have a PA.
I will come in and hang with you some night. I've been meaning to do that, and I know that I need to, because I want to check out that space. And I've heard really good things about the owner, and I've heard good things about what they're doing. So
Yeah.
it's so important to have management in place that just really wants you to be there, and
Oh,
is
yeah.
supportive, because sometimes it's not always that way. Those places don't last, though.
Right.
If there's a bad vibe and they're not doing it out of a good place, those places never last.
Mhm.
So the ones that, do well are the ones that are run by people who care,
Yeah. Yeah.
are respectful to the musicians. And I've been in a few situations with club owners who they don't get it. They don't realize that it's a team effort. I had a really cute little room that I was so hopeful for. And this is probably the last time I'll do this. Because to me, it was like, I've done this. I'm not interested in doing this anymore. But I was going down and trying to get a night going at a really cute basement club in downtown LA. But the owner was just not doing anything. I couldn't get him to put a freaking poster up. And it was just insane. And so I pulled the plug on that. I actually was the one that I saw the handwriting on the wall. I did about 3 months down there. So I tried. And I was able to give some bookings to some really great young musicians. Yuko Mabuchi did a couple nights for me down there. And John Story, I think, was there. And Marcos Caracos. And, I think Danny Janclow did a couple of nights. And they were so grateful for this little gig. But I couldn't get anyone to go down there, and they wouldn't do anything to help me.
Yeah.
And that was a huge parking lot. It was so easy to slide into that place, and just couldn't make it happen. And that I thought, okay, I'm done with this. I will never, ever again engage with a club owner that I don't really know. If it's someone that I know from the business and that I know personally, I might do something, but just to sort of. And they had contacted me through a restaurant publicist I knew. So I thought, this is no fun. This is no fun. Who wants to go sit in an empty room and without any sort of hope of the venue getting it?
Yeah.
Help. They just expect you to bring it all. And it
Yeah.
just that way.
That's another thing I like about the conference room. The owner literally brings his own people in too for the
Wow.
audience, which is, like you say, it's incredibly refreshing,
It really is.
But when I started Bar Fedora downtown in LACC, they actually Dave Ross recommended me, and I went over and I was kind of like, oh, do I really want to do this? And I went into the room. The room was so beautiful.
Yes, it was.
The owners were really nice. There was parking. It was, $7 parking. I remember I talked to a musician friend of mine who I thought, might have a good thing to say. And he said, oh, people aren't going to pay $7 for parking. And I said, you know what? That is so old thinking. It's like, people will pay to come to jazz. They'll pay to park. They'll eat, and it worked for 2.5 years. It was great.
It did. I loved it. I worked there. I think I sang there maybe once or twice, and Louis did it a couple times.
Yep.
And I saw some great music there. I saw Kenny Washington there,
Yeah.
a lovely singer, and I saw you do some stuff there. I saw Yuko, I saw Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had some good stuff in there, and what a lovely room, and that very nice staff. We were always treated very well there.
Yeah.
I was sorry to see that one go. But it's fun to kibitz with you about the local booking experience because you and I both really know what that's like. We have no delusions about it.
We certainly don't.
And that's the memories I have. I mean, Chaya, that 7-year run at Chaya, I used to get so excited. And for me, really, just almost as excited as a performance to book the right band and have people show up, and it's just all working, and it's just like, you know, you're sort of orchestrating this big party.
Yeah, exactly.
I would so enjoy my Sunday nights at Chaya. And then there are the nights when it doesn't quite work, and but so as I said, I sort of learned on my feet there. So there was some rough nights, but we had enough really good nights.
Yeah. You know, one thing that always bugged me when I was booking was when you'd get great musicians, right? And they did no promotion. And it was like, and I did promotion on my end, but you know, I expected the other people, the performers, to do it too. Nothing. And I would get so heavily disappointed in that.
Yeah.
One group that I just wanted to have in and was Joey Sellers and his partner in crime, the other trombone player. I can't remember his name. But anyway, it's just the two of them. They have this 2 trombone show that's really weird. But I just wanted it in there. So I said, well, I'm not sure of the money, but if you want to come, I'd like to have you in there. So they came. Very few people came, but there was this one couple who came in the first set, and the guy wanted to introduce jazz to his lady. And I came over to them and I said, I felt I had to say,
not the typical experience.
Right, this is not the typical experience. And they said, well, that's okay. And they sat there for the second set. And I want to tell you, Ryan something, the other trombone player. Anyway, Ryan comes out literally in Speedos and a wrestling mask.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, I'm telling you, this is weird stuff. I mean, they're both brilliant players, but you know. And this couple, I just was like, oh my God, I love this couple. They're so sweet.
Appreciation in the art form. Well, we've had some wild experiences, I know. But yeah, but for me to jump into that situation again, it would have to be a very special situation for me. Something that's not really set up for music. It would have to be really a unique situation for me to ever do that again. I did it. I made it work. I'm happy with what I did. Let's move on.
I'd love to do a festival, but again, it's so much work and so much work that I don't know. You know, I mean, yeah, I can book it, and that's not a problem, and I can even do the PR probably. But I mean, oh, I don't know. That just makes me exhausted thinking about it, you know.
There's somebody who's trying to do a huge coastal festival.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Yes, I know you are. You sent them a letter of support.
Yeah.
Cornish did too. We sent them one as well. So we'll see. It's a really ambitious project.
Yes.
And I think basically our letter said, you know, great, go for it. We think it's a great idea, but we hope you know what you're up against and how much this is. And you better have ducks in a row, because if you're trying to bring, you know, tens and thousands of people along the coast for this series of shows, there's a lot of moving parts to that.
Yes.
So,
very heavy. Have you been over to Just Jazz at Mr. Music Head?
Oh yeah, I love it. I saw you there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is a really great series. They've opened another location as well.
Right, I noticed that. Leroy is just great. Leroy Downs.
So tasteful.
Such good taste and such a honest, hard worker. I really respect Leroy a lot. That's a great room. And you had a fun night. Who was the bass player who was?
John Leftwich.
Yeah, John Leftwich. He's the bass player that I had set up with to go to his house and work on material pre-pandemic. him again. We did a gig at a party at a restaurant out on the beach. He and Dory Amarillo, and I love John. So yeah, but that was a special night. That's such a great venue with all the art and the posters, and the owner is very cool too, and really loves jazz. And I've seen some really good things in there. You had a good night. That was fun. You had a good crowd. It was a fun night.
That was a great night. The music was really fun. It was kind of an adventure. And huh?
Challenging music.
Very challenging. As a matter of fact, John Leftwich was my guest earlier today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he's a super talented guy. And yeah, I want to record that body of music because it was really fun. He wrote some great arrangements, and yeah, it's really, but I really like seeing people there a lot.
Yeah, Gerald Clayton had a beautiful night there. We love Gerald. And
I've seen some really new people there too. Like I saw Ben Williams, the bass player.
Yeah.
So Ben Williams, kind of a young guy, but he's doing super well. Who did I see him with? I can't remember, but I was like, oh, wow, Ben Williams is on this video with blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Ben Williams and this drummer moved out from New York about a year ago. The drummer that he had was John Davis. Incredible drummer. And the two of them together were amazing. And they had Billy Childs. Oh, wow. And they had a great guitar player and a great alto player whose names I didn't retain. I was so mesmerized by Ben and John.
Well,
I was totally blown away. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really cool room. I'll be going back there soon. I love the airport room. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Oh, Sam First.
Yeah, Sam First. I love that room. Parking can be challenging.
Very challenging.
It's worth it. It's worth a trip. What a cool little room. Great piano. I've heard some wonderful stuff there. I heard Sarah Gazarik's girl group there.
Oh, Saji.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that's an incredible group.
It really is. The thing I like about them is not only musically are they just so in sync, but they've also got something to say. They're not just making pretty sounds. They really have a viewpoint, and they're getting some important messages across with their music. I'm a big fan of Sarah Gazarik. I've been a fan of Sarah's for many years, and I just think she hung the moon. I think she's really, really special. I got her on the board of the LA Jazz Society. I'm very happy that I got her involved because she's such a hard worker, and she's been a real asset for us. So,
yeah, tell us about that too, the LA Jazz Society.
Well, I was involved with them a little bit and did some PR for them in the mid-90s. In fact, I did the publicity for their tribute to Ray Brown back in the 90s. And then I was not really a board person back then. It kind of takes a certain commitment and mentality, and I just did not want to sit through meetings. And so I left the board. And then I ran into Flip Mann. I'm not sure where it was, a few years ago, and Flip said, would you like to come back on the board? And at this point, I'm much more of a board person. I'm better at sitting through meetings and sitting still and finding a way to contribute. So I said, sure. So she put me back on the board. And we've got a good board now. We've got a lot of committed people. We have doing a lot of stuff with John Clayton. He's been very involved with us, and Sarah and Max Wrightson, who's a wonderful drummer and music guy in town, and young guy. So we're getting some young people in. Lauren Baba, the wonderful band leader, is on the board, and so we've brought some fresh blood in, and the organization is doing really amazingly well. I mean, we've been doing wonderful with our fundraising. We've been having great turnouts for our virtual series that we're doing. We're doing a lot of shows. We wanted to respond to the pandemic as an arts organization. We thought that was important. So we said, let's do a virtual series. We can afford to pay the musicians like a gig and give them a gig they can do at home or wherever, and in a safe environment, and stream it and promote it. And it's taken off. We're getting people from all over the world tuning in. We're doing 3 and 4 a month. I don't host all of them. I host a lot of them. We also have a legend series with people like Dick Nash and Chuck Berghofer, and usually it's somebody else on the board who has been around a bit who will host that. Not that I haven't been around a bit, but we just share the hosting duties a little bit. So I tend to do we've done Jane Monheit, we did Spencer Day, we've done John Story, we did Gerald Clayton, and we've been doing, for over a year now. So I was hoping to stop doing them because it seemed like things were going to change last June or last month. Things were getting better with the vaccines and all that. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So we've continued going. And I think we will no matter what, because it's really is an amazing way to reach people all over the world. I mean, we're getting people from the Netherlands tuning in, and Australia and South America. We have this guy from Peru who tunes in every time we do something. And we can also bring in people. We've done a few shows with New York artists. So it's, if you work out the time difference, you can do things from other cities. And it's expanded.
Yeah.
Our email list is blown up. We've got this huge email list now because we do it via Zoom.
Yeah.
And then you have to sign a Zoom link. So we've got your email list, your email address. And Zoom is not always the best way to do a live show. It's been challenging in terms of the sound quality. It's been tough, but I think it's gotten a little bit better. But we did a beautiful show with Josh Nelson and Kevin Van Den Elsen. They've been doing their own virtual thing, their West Coast Jazz Hour, which is
that's great, isn't it?
It's wonderful. I love it. Saw Corky Hale, not Corky
Did you
Hale.
see Pinky Winters last week?
That's what I meant to say, Pinky Winters. I said Corky
Wasn't
Hale.
that great? Oh my God.
What was so great about that was, first of all, her recordings. My God, what a tone that woman has.
In her early days, I don't know if I heard her in her early days. Gorgeous.
Hear her then. Jeez. I mean, what a great singer. And watching her hearing herself.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Into it.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff she hadn't heard for years, decades.
Yeah.
And that was a charming evening. Sue Rainey was a lovely evening. They had Sue Rainey on. They've had Chuck Berghofer, Terry Gibbs, who is, of course, a hoot.
Yeah.
Amazing legend. So we've had Terry on our series as well.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to see people like you, and you've been doing yours, and it's great to see how we've stepped up and adapted. And that's just what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the LA Jazz Society Presents has been really good. We're gearing up for another tribute show, and we're getting that lineup together. And I don't think it's telling tales out of school or telling you too much. It's probably going to be another hybrid event. Some of it's going to be streamed, and then we'll probably have a live venue that will have a few live artists, and we'll do some videos. It'll be a hybrid of things, I'm pretty sure at this point.
That's cool.
And we can do a completely live event.
Yeah.
We did that last year. John Clayton was our music director. He usually is. And of course, when you've got John on board, you're doing really well. Yes. So we'll be doing that again. That date's going to be announced soon, probably early December. I'm proud of the organization because it meant a lot to me. Because when I met Teri, I was doing cabaret, little rooms a little bit. Because I'd been in musical theater. That's really how I got started, was doing shows. And so I love jazz, and I was trying to be good at jazz, but she heard something that she liked. She heard me sing in an honors concert, and she started putting me together with people like Gildo Mahones and Joanne Grauer. And suddenly these, the whole different tier, not that I wasn't working with good piano players, but it was just a different level and a different approach and a more legitimate jazz history to these people. So suddenly I'm working with Al Aarons and these people, Lou Forestieri. Remember Lou Forestieri?
Sure.
And she was booking me into Windows on Hollywood, the
the revolving room. Yes.
It was really behind me. Yeah. And I was getting some good gigs. And so then that meant a lot to me. So obviously the organization means a lot to me. And the fact that Flip Mann is still with us at 100 years old and doing really well.
Amazing.
Flip and Shelley Mann, I mean, how much more legit can you get than that? So it was always a good organization. Yeah. And Teri started it with Flip and some of the guys from the Basie band who were here, and Sweets Edison was around a lot. Bob Cooper was around a bit. unfortunately, Shelley died right before I met all those people. I think Shelley passed in
Yeah.
mid to late 80s. And I didn't really meet them until 90 or so when I was at
Uh-huh.
Segal.
Yeah.
But there was this really legit core. I mean, and you know, Quincy Jones still shows up to all of our events. We'll be doing a little bit with him at LACMA. They're going to be honoring Quincy, and we're giving him a little thing as well.
Cool.
So it was always a legitimate organization and a serious organization. Teri's the one who did the jazz mural on the Capitol Records building, that fabulous mural. That was us. And I remember going to the opening of that, and so we're financially sound, and we're active, and we have new fresh blood, and we're looking to the future. And I'm really, really proud to be involved with them.
Yeah.
The organization.
That's really good. I think I'm impressed with that for a various number of reasons. First of all, it's a totally necessary thing to have a Los Angeles Jazz Society. And also, like, I'm on the advisory board of the California Jazz Federation Foundation, and which this year, I think this year they've been moving into a little bit more notoriety because, quite frankly, I don't think that they had fully promoted to the general public who they were and what they were doing. The fact that they're not competing with you, they are a whole different purpose, which is to support Los Angeles jazz musicians in financial need, which is, that's a whole other thing. But I remember when I first called and I said, I'd like to be on the board. And Edie said, "Are you sure you want to be on the board?" And I was like, "Why?" And because I never was on a board. I didn't know what that was. And so I grew to understand that it's a lot of commitment. So I'm on the advisory board. So that's cool. I can do that.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
You have to go to all the meetings. You just kind of show up and advise.
Also, I discovered something else. Like in my usual, like, hey, let's create a play, So I was starting to create these things that I could raise money and awareness for them. Then I got stopped basically because the board had to review it and go through all the reviewing and then okay it or whatever. And I realized, oh, well, that's another reason why I'm probably not on a board, because that's just painful process for me. I mean, I have had foundations. I've had the California Jazz and Pop. That actually lasted a while, but I guess you could call it on the, a board, but it would go very fast. Somebody would come up with an idea, we'd agree or disagree right in the meeting, and then we'd just get to doing things. We had a great event for Deanie Clark, Herb Jeffries at Catalina's, and the Jazz Bakery, and also for Howlett Smith. So we did these amazing things, but it wasn't that kind of a board. It was just like in the moment, come up with an idea. People said no, or people said yes. And if they said yes, we'd just start working on it.
We're pretty lean and mean. We don't get bogged down on a lot of stuff. The thing that's great about us is we have a full-time events person that we're able to keep on a retainer. So she does the heavy lifting.
Okay.
Actually plans. So we don't have to actually, do that much down and dirty work on events, which is a lot of work.
Yeah.
On salary to do that. So that really makes it much easier on the rest of us.
Yeah.
So we can be more think on our feet and come up with the ideas. And of course, she's not actually officially a board member, but she really kind of functions as one. She's an events planner. Cher Lilico, really good. And
she just got hired by the California Jazz Foundation.
It's all one big family. We love Edith. We love what she does, and we're supportive of her. We donate to her whenever we can, and give her support whenever we can. Edie's fabulous. So as you said, there's no competition. We're two different. There's not really room for more than one, to be honest with you.
No, not really.
Imagine two large organizations trying to be the jazz organization of LA.
No, it's kind of silly.
So, like as you said, we're working in different areas, but Edie's fabulous and does a great thing with her stuff. So
she's amazing.
The thing about advisory boards is some of these organizations have a very fancy list of people on the letterhead, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
So we kicked some very fancy people off of our advisory board because they didn't do anything. They weren't really bringing any money. They weren't bringing any money in or any ideas. It was just a name on the letterhead to look fancy.
Yeah.
So we decided we wanted it to be a better functioning board.
Yeah.
So we actually culled the list, and now we have an advisory board that advises, and bringing John Clayton into more direct contact was just huge, because he's just such a great guy, and
Yeah, he's wonderful.
knows he just has such a pure motivation.
Yeah.
He's a pure guy.
Yeah.
We love John, and he's really an asset for us.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, he really is special individual, and his family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He just lost his brother, who was also a fabulous. Jeff was fabulous. And
Yeah, that was hard, I'm sure.
we're actually going to be naming an award after Jeff. And
Oh, that's so
very
nice.
difficult. And he just bore it with grace. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So, music, what a world.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to be involved. It's not just about hustling a gig for yourself. Community.
Yeah.
The community is what brought me back into it when I was so focused on working for Corniche that I really stopped, and I wasn't trying to get gigs, and I stopped playing the piano. And this was a few years, and I started getting really grumpy. And I
Yeah.
thought, being so icky, this is not you. And I thought, because you're missing a connection to your music family and to the music.
Yeah.
So that's when I called up Josh Nelson, who I knew a little bit, and he didn't really know me, but I said, let's do a show at the Gardenia. It's easy to slide in there for me to do a show. And I wanted to do something. So I hired Kristen Korb and Josh Nelson and Sammy Miller, and we did a night, and we had like 70 people at the Gardenia. I mean, that place is like a living room.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It was packed. And the bar was packed. It was really a fun night. And so that's when I sort of relaunched my performing life. And such a big part of that is community. It's just going out and supporting each other. The LA singers are really good that way. And the musicians too. And just feeling that you're part of a family. That's what I had been missing. So I'm glad that that's part of my life again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear some more of your music.
Is there something you can pull up with Betty and I?
Is it on Spotify?
I think it is. If you just type in Betty Bryant, I think Together is the name of the record we did together. Here it is, Betty Bryant, Mark Christian Miller. There you go. Play when lights are low. That's time. No.
Sweet music, soft and mellow, soothing and slow, strains of a mellow cello when lights are low.
Dear, we're so close together. I love you so. Why talk about the weather when lights are low? Two hearts revealing, music hath charm. Life so appealing,
With inspiration in your arms,
lips meeting soft and tender, love's all aglow. Why shouldn't we surrender when lights are low?
A little bit of Betty on here.
Robert Kyle on that. And Kenny Elliott on drums.
sorry, we can't hear you, so hold that thought. Okay, so what did you say?
Nolan Shahid's studio over there in Pasadena, and Robert Kyle on sax, and Kenny Elliott on drums.
Cool, very nice. That's totally beautiful and swinging.
Yeah, our voices went together in an odd way. They just kind of worked together.
Yeah.
But that was such a fun session, and easy, just such an easy, relaxed recording session, working in 30 degrees.
You know, speaking of Joyce Collins, when you were speaking of her, and I was remembering she and Dave Mackay, that was a really good grouping of people too. Oh. And, both pianists, both singing, light, beautiful, very harmonically beautiful stuff, both of them together.
And once again, the singing piano playing thing, that Joyce was not that comfortable singing.
Yeah.
Or she had a thing about it. She was a serious jazz pianist, and that's what she wanted. So I think from her generation, there was maybe a bit of a stigma about the girl singer, not being a serious musician and all of that. She sort of resisted that, which is kind of a shame because she was a lovely singer. I wish she had sung a little more, but I mean, she did beautiful recordings and everything, but I always wanted to hear her sing a little more. But,
you heard Dave Mackay sing too, right?
No, did they do an album together? I'm not familiar with it. Did they record together?
Let's see. Let me just check that out on YouTube or something, because I'm pretty sure they did something. Joyce Collins and Dave Mackay. Well, Joyce Collins, jazz. Let's see if that brings it up. My Funny Valentine. Oh, that's with Joyce and Bill Henderson.
Oh, yeah, she worked a lot with Bill Henderson.
Yeah. I guess they had a group together. Gosh, I'm pretty sure that I could swear that they all had a group together. I'm just kind of looking around. There's some other Dave Mackay, hard to believe, who keeps coming up. Well, interesting. I guess I'll have to look for it at some point. I mean, there is a little bit of Dave that comes up, but you know how YouTube is. Did you ever hear the Dave and Laurie Bell and Ron Satterfield?
No.
You have to listen to this, Mark, on your time. Ron Satterfield.
I know the name. I know nothing about him.
From San Diego, plays guitar and sings. He is a crazy good singer.
Wow.
And Laurie, of course, is a great flutist. And Dave, I mean, this group, they had a record called Interplay together, and so musical. You would love it. It's so musical. It's kind of along the Joyce, the Joyce kind of feeling or genre. Really, really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Ron Satterfield. He's crazy.
Cool. I'll check him out.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
Iowa. I grew up on a small family farm in Iowa.
Get out of here, man.
Madison County, the bridges of.
I would have thought like New York or LA or something.
Farm kid.
Wow.
Mom taught piano when I was a kid, so I heard a lot of beautiful, and she was great. I heard a lot of beautiful classical piano when I was very young. We always had students in the house. But then she decided it wasn't enough money for her family, so she put away the piano books and got out the typing books and the typewriter and got up to speed and went to Des Moines and got a job working in an office, and that's what she did, and she was very happy doing that. My dad had a beautiful singing voice, but he was a farmer. He would sing at the piano, Old Man River, and that's he had a lovely voice, and he'd been a church soloist. But they really encouraged us to be involved in music. We had a good school. It was a tiny rural school with a very silly name, Interstate 35 Community High School, believe it or not. It was 3 little farm towns in south central Iowa that had consolidated into a school district at the same time they were building the interstate system through in like 1962. So they thought it'd be a good idea to name the school after the highway. So that's what they did. And it's still there. It's still going strong. It was a good school. The quality of the education, we didn't realize how good we had it. We had swing choir, we had a band, we had a debate club, we did musicals. We had a fresh young music teacher out of college. His first job, he came in and we did musicals for the first time. He's still a good friend of mine. He lives in Missouri now. Yeah, we're still very close friends. And so, yeah, but it was a working farm, 350 acres, cattle and pigs and soybeans, and certainly not the life that I was inclined to lead, but really, really a good family, and supportive and encourage us to be social and involved in school activities. And so we were always going to this and that and athletics and as well as music.
Do you think your dad like kind of was hoping you'd be a farmer and take it over?
Yeah, but it was pretty obvious early on that was not probably going to happen. So it was pretty clear that was not in the cards for me. I did not have any interest in it, but I'll tell you later on, I developed a real love for it, for certain aspects of it. And as I got older and I was able to drive the equipment, I really, really got into like cultivating the corn. There was such a Zen-like quality about being out in this beautiful field, these emerald green rows of corn and the black soil, and you're just sort of sitting there, making sure that the blades go in between the rows and just the greenery. And I really, really, really got into that. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the countryside very much. I used to hike all over the place. And then later on, I would do what was called custom work for my father, which is I would take our equipment and go bale hay for other farmers across the county. So I was driving, miles and miles with a huge tractor and a hay baler and 2 large flat racks down these country roads. And I would operate the baler, and we would bale hay for other people. I loved that. There was a lot about it I really, really liked.
Yeah.
I really hated getting up in the winter and feeding the cattle. And there were some things we did to the pigs that were horrible that I didn't enjoy either. It brings in the nose and just things that you have to do to I do know where the hamburger comes from, so I have no delusions about how we get our food. But it was a beautiful way to grow up. Beautiful big white farmhouse and fun neighbors, friendly neighbors. We were friendly with everybody. We never locked our door. But I couldn't wait to get out. It was really time to go. I left at 18 and went to University of Iowa and tried to figure things out there, and ended up in San Francisco. And that's when I started singing opera and operetta with the Lamplighers, which is still in existence. They do mostly Gilbert and Sullivan. And we did Franz Lehar, we did Merry Widow and Die Fledermaus, little Mozart. But mostly it was Gilbert and Sullivan. Really excellent troupe with professional orchestra, and started studying classically there and got a job singing in a church choir in Piedmont, a church soloist. Then was doing shows up there. I got cast in a new opera company of Die Fledermaus. I got a small role, but I auditioned at the same time for the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera Music Theater Workshop, which used to be in existence, and they would audition at the Orpheum in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And have classes here at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. So I auditioned for that, and I got in, which was kind of unusual on the first time. So I packed up my stuff and moved to LA, and I've been here ever since. Did shows for a while. Did some stock, a few seasons of summer stock in Sacramento, did a stock tour, did a lot of dinner theater in Orange County, and a lot of small theater here in LA, a lot of equity work. So
do you know Pierre Chambers?
Yeah, I know Pierre.
I know he, when he moved to LA, he was doing acting kind of along those lines, I think.
So many of us were. I mean, I'm always running into people who we came here to do that, and it sort of led to other things. That's just kind of the way it is. But I had a blast. So obviously the waiting tables thing was a very important thing for me to survive, and that's how we did it.
I was a waitress too. Yeah.
It still happens. And I did a lot of interesting shows. I did a show with Steve Allen and Georgia Brown. Not a good show, but it was a show that he wrote. And Georgia, of course, the Broadway singer from Oliver, and the great actress and great singer. And we did that at LA Actors Theater. And that was kind of an interesting show to be involved in. I did a hit production of Little Mary Sunshine with Amanda McBroom, who's still very much with us and is one of our leading lights in cabaret singing. And we were a hit that we ran like 6 months, which is did a production of She Loves Me at a place, the McGaw Theater was in Northridge. And that was kind of a hit. I did Arpod, did a small part in that. And then I got my union cards and started doing summer stock and some professional shows. And that's when I did dinner theater in Orange County, and great fun doing summer stock in Sacramento. I love doing stock. I had 3 great summers up there. I worked with Desi Arnaz Jr. and O'Connor, Marsha Wallace was around then.
Yeah.
So it was, it was like not the A-list stars would go do summer stock, but they still had names and they were interesting people.
Yeah.
Worked with Harv Presnell and Annie. And then a lot of people who went on to have big careers. Faith Prince, we worked with Faith up there. She's huge, Broadway star. It's fun to see some of these people who just stuck with it and have had really nice careers. And I was doing chorus and small parts. But eventually it just seemed to me the whole acting thing, if I really wanted to do it, I would have been in New York, the musical theater thing. There was a lot more of it then. I don't think there's as much now. I auditioned for the touring shows, the LA companies, and I got close to a couple. I almost got into the Dreamgirls production here. I was so close. Well, that's this. I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I was auditioning, and I was down to like the last couple of people, and they didn't choose me. And there's a certain type of person who can deal with that.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to just compartmentalize that and deal with the rejection. And it wasn't so much the rejection, it was the uncertainty of that life that I just didn't really, it wasn't working for me. I wasn't happy. So I didn't really have a passion for it. So that's when I started managing a restaurant. I got a job managing Hugo's in West Hollywood. And did that. Then I started really getting into jazz. And that's when I went eventually back to City College and started sort of getting involved with that community here. So it was very much a musical theater, opera sort of background.
Well, that was quite a lifetime. Yeah, that was I'd say a lifetime because it feels like different lifetimes. Actually, I also acted growing up, and I really enjoyed acting a lot. And I remember when I first moved to LA, I actually went out for a few acting parts, and I remember this one reading where there were a bunch of casting directors, and I did something unusual. I can't remember. The part that I was reading, I don't know. I think I sang too, but I just kind of made it real, like it was about me doing it. And I don't think they knew that I was reading a part or that I was reciting a part. And then the singing probably threw them off too. And I just remember thinking, why, if I'm a singer, I could be working singing gigs while I'm waiting for the big hit. I don't have to work as a waitress the whole time as waiting for acting gigs. So I just kind of went over, but I think acting is just it's such a great art form too,
I love it. And I love classic movies, and I don't go to theater like I used to, and that's kind of a shame. I need to start going to more theater. I used to see everything, and I really haven't. But to your point of not sitting around waiting for things to happen, that's really kind of what got me into jazz, because I thought, well, you've got to do something. So I would book these little nightclubs, and then I started listening to different things, and I started booking myself into venues. Just to try to get something going for yourself, because if you sit around and wait for it, it's not going to happen. And I think an actor has to really be willing to be a vessel and really to be what they need them to be. And it takes a certain personality to be happy doing that. And it just wasn't for me. I had a great time pursuing it and met some great people, and I'm certainly glad I did it. But it was time for me to get a more steady job and just a more steady life. So. I think when I hit 30, that kind of it dawned on me. Well, maybe, if I'm not happy, you better find a way to be happy. And what makes you happy is fair, whatever it is. So
That's funny that you say that. The day I hit 30, I was freaked out. I'd never thought about it before then, ever. But the day I hit 30, it was like, oh my God, I'm not in my 20s anymore. And it just freaked me out. I don't know, maybe 30 was one of those magic numbers. 60 was great. I loved 60. And I remember Gene Stone said to me, oh, you're 60 now. That's great. You don't care.
I'm so happy. I mean, I'm fine. I feel good, and I have great energy, and I've kind of figured a few things out. I hope.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everything. It'll always be a process, but hopefully, I've learned a few things over the years, and learned just how to be more comfortable in my skin, and nice to people. Not that I was never not nice. I was never unkind or but just treating others the way you want to be treated, and I don't know, I just feel much more grounded, and I have a much better life now than I've had my entire life. So I must have done something right, because everything you do gets you to the point you're at now. So I guess it was okay. Because I'm okay.
Yeah, I kind of think
I sound like that SNL character.
What'd you say?
I sound like an SNL character, Stuart. Gosh, don't people like me. Him?
Yeah, I do. That was a funny character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that too, though. I think I'm very happy in my life, and I feel lucky to be here. But I also recognize that I did work, from when I was born. I remember all the little, falling off the cliffs, and picking myself up and reinventing and moving forward. And so I feel like I deserve to be happy because I did my work.
Yeah, I think one thing, if you can say that you were never timid about life, that you took a big bite out of it, and were willing to fall flat on your face and do all those things. And I did, believe me. And I'm glad I wasn't afraid to leave Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing, isn't
There's
it?
nothing wrong with staying there. It just wasn't for me. So,
Yeah.
I love Iowa. I was hoping to go to my cousin's birthday party this weekend in Waterloo, but I won't be able to. I would have enjoyed that very much.
Yeah.
It's fun to go back there in the summer.
I'm from Boston, so I love going back there. I dream about having an extra house there or an apartment or something. And it's just, I mean, it's not, of course, it's not like the old days, but it's, more people, more commercial, how exponentially everything changes. But when I go back there, I really get a hit of how it felt growing up there and going to college there, and just very rich. I mean, that of course, the time period was really cool too. I moved out here in 75. So the early 70s, that was college years, and I was living in Boston, and just the music was amazing in that period of time. Absolutely amazing, and there were at the time there were something like 70 colleges there, and now there must be 170. And so the city had this vibe of people doing things and interested in things, and it didn't matter ages, it just was like everybody was kind of on that path.
Yeah.
So I when I go back there, I get a real hit of all that, and I'm always like, oh God, I'm from here. Plus, not to mention the geography. You probably miss Iowa for that too. I mean, the geography so different than out here. Although I think LA has a lot of beauty, but God, New England, man. I mean, the green and the water, like the streams and the rivers and the ponds, and I miss that.
I lived there for a while and got married in Hingham, I think, outside of Boston. So
Your
I
sister?
spent, yeah. So I spent great town.
Yeah.
Is Rebecca Paris? Was Rebecca from Boston?
Yes, she was.
You know her then?
She was a year older than me. We were in a special jazz vocal and instrumental group together from junior high into high school.
Yeah.
Her name was Ruth McCluskey.
That name is very familiar.
That was her name.
Oh, that was her name.
Yeah.
Wow. I always admire people who change their name to something. I mean, I kind of wish I should have done that, but I just always admired it.
Stephanie changed her name. It's not her first name, but her last name. She had Stephanie Haynes. She had, yeah, it was a real, can't remember. Oh, it was like kind of a Polish-based name. Can't remember her name, but anyway, yeah, Haynes. I think she picked it off of the, underwear or something. And she just liked it. And it was perfect for her.
Yeah.
But Rebecca Paris,
Yeah.
she was, I was talking about her the other day. Oh, I interviewed Meredith D'Ambrosio on here. So we were talking about Rebecca because, she knew her as well. And she was an amazing person and artist. And
Yeah. Do you know Marla Kleeman? You must know Marla.
absolutely, yeah.
She'd be someone I'd like to interview. What a,
I wanted to interview her, but she backed out.
oh,
She
she's
said
probably
she's
very private and yeah.
she's shy,
Yeah.
even though she knows a shitload of people and things.
So much about the music and her connections with the major artists.
I know.
I guess she just hung out. She just started hanging out at a very young age, and she was with Rebecca, of course. Lived with Rebecca for years, and but I'm just always amazed at her Facebook presence when she, oh yeah, here I am with Count Basie, and here I am with just hanging with
Very
so-and-so.
very hip person.
Very hip. I remember her from the LA days. I remember seeing her
Yeah.
around clubs.
Yeah.
And,
Rebecca's husband, Paul, is a piano player, and he and I went to Berkeley together.
oh, cool.
Yeah. And he was actually a really good player. And of course, he got overshadowed a bit by Rebecca because she was world renowned,
Oh God. Well, I saw Rebecca do a little concert up in Seattle. There was a venue that was around for a while, and it was one of the outlying communities, and it was like a gated community, and they had a clubhouse. And whoever had the clubhouse was booking in music, and they booked Rebecca, and you could buy a package and get a dinner and show. So my friend Diane and I did that and drove out to see Rebecca and hung out with her a little bit after the show. Oh my God, what a singer. So great. So great.
she was very dear friends with Lynn Wiggins too.
Oh, I love Lynn.
Yeah. And so she
Gerald
was
was,
she was amazing.
Gerald was such a gentleman. I love Gerald. He was such a nice man.
Oh, and a great player, amazing player.
Of course.
So classy.
Don't you feel lucky that we were around to get some of that tail end of the real heyday?
Yes.
The studio, the session work was really popping.
Yes.
They were here for film and then Shelley's Manhole and all these amazing people who lived through the whole West Coast scene.
Totally. I was a waitress at Dante's for a year and a half.
Oh wow.
And that's how I got into the jazz community, really.
Yeah.
And
That would do it.
yeah, one night I was so I was in the I was working. It was Irene Krall and Alan Broadbent.
Oh.
And Irene I didn't realize until little later that this was her last gig. She was dying of cancer. She sang Some Other Time, which I had never heard, and which totally imprinted on my brain.
Wow.
And almost the only two people in the audience, typical jazz evening with a singer and piano player, Sarah Vaughan and Carmen McRae.
Whoa. Whoa. Irene was so great.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. She was good friends with Joyce. That was a whole,
Yeah.
they hung out together. Frischberg was around, Dave
Yeah,
Frischberg,
yeah, exactly. He played at Dante's a lot too.
Jack Sheldon, and all
Yep.
those
Oh yeah.
people. The Money
Jack,
Tree.
Ross Tompkins,
Ross, I got to sit in with Ross at an event. That was a treat for me. Jake Hanna,
Jake Hanna. I loved
listen to us.
County
Oh,
Condoli. I
yeah,
loved him so much.
of course, of course.
And then there was
Well,
that other club on Van Nuys, the Drummers Club, Van Nuys near Ventura Boulevard, Carmelo's.
oh, cool.
Do you
Yeah,
remember that? Were you
I don't.
here?
I don't remember
That,
Carmen's.
that was another place like Dante's, and then even not the Money Tree, but the place across from NBC. That was a really
Chadney, Chadney.
Chadney's.
Yeah,
That was a happening room. That
yeah.
was
I
a
used to go to
great
Chadney's a bit. Yeah, very
yeah.
happy.
Alphonse's, which is now Michael's
Oh
in
yeah,
Toluca Lake.
yeah.
It's great.
Well, we have had some fun, and we got to hang out and work and meet some of the truly great ones.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
Well, we're almost at the end of 2 hours. Goes by pretty fast, doesn't it?
Go by fast.
Yeah. Um, what would you like the general public to know? Anything particular?
Well, this record I've been working on forever is finished.
Oh,
We're mixing, and I think it'll be done late October. I just contacted my manufacturer and the artwork person, and everything is done. The photo is taken. It's all licensed, and we just Paul needs to master it. I'm still waiting on hearing from some people in Chile. I'm going to try to. I have incorporated some Pablo Neruda lines.
oh,
You know, frankly, I probably should have just done it, but I will be in the back of my mind licensing. I didn't want any issues, so I contacted the Neruda people in Chile. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. Hopefully, they'll give me the thumbs up. So once that happens, we're done, and then I'll
I'm just curious. Are you using Pablo's in Spanish or English?
show English translations.
Okay, so you still even have to get permission to use the English
I need to go through
translation.
the publisher as well. But
Mm,
so we're working it out. I've never done this sort of thing before, and I
yeah,
thought, well, you better get your ducks in a row and
yeah.
make sure you don't have any licensing issues later on. And if it's a mess and it's a hassle, I'll just write my own. I've sort of got some ideas to write my own spoken word.
Yeah.
So another great Jameson Trotter arrangement of I Wished on the Moon. It's so good. I'm really proud of this record. I really feel I'm singing in a much more relaxed and confident way than I have. Recording is a whole different ballgame than working live, as you well know.
Totally. Yes.
So I'm just really wanting to get this done and out there. And then, look for me playing the keys somewhere, somehow. I'm going to contact a few bass players and see if we can't work some material together that I feel
I
really
can't wait to hear you play piano. I bet it's going to be great.
well. It's going to be what it is, and we won't try to sound like Keith Jarrett. That's the main thing. We just have to sound like ourselves and understand that there's a way to play piano and sing that's perfectly fine, and you don't have to be the flashiest. In fact, it's better to be, a little understated behind the vocals. So look for that. The record will be out. I hope we continue to open up. I've been getting out to hear some music. I went to Vibrato a couple weeks ago to hear the Josh Nelson, Kevin Vanden Nelson West Coast Big Band, which was amazing. Ron Stout and all these amazing players, Chuck Berghofer, and of course, Gene Cipriano. So I'm hoping things continue to open, and we'll be making our announcements for the LA Jazz Society tribute coming up. And hopefully we'll have some fun Latin things with Louis that people can come and dance and enjoy his high energy stuff. He's such a great conguero. He's really, really good. Very proud of working with Louis. And,
I also have one of his paintings in my kitchen.
yeah, he's a good painter. He likes to paint.
I love his work.
Got it probably at Bar Fedora that one of the nights he was there.
I think I did actually. Yeah, actually, like this work behind me, you can't see it that great, but this is Katia Moraes.
Oh,
She's similar to him.
yeah, I'm painting now too. When I started painting during the
Yeah,
pandemic,
you were going to show us some of your paintings.
I don't think I can get my screen share thing to work. For some reason, I think I won't get my screen share to
You
work.
did in the very beginning, by the way.
Did you see them?
Yes, I could.
You see my screen? Should we try?
Yeah.
desktop.
We didn't even
Share.
talk about your painting.
We don't have to talk a lot about it. I'm so excited about my painting. Can you see that?
Well, if you click, yeah, there it is. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I started painting during the pandemic. I painted in the 90s a bit. And each time I painted, it was in response to sort of a challenge I was having in my life. And I just enjoy it so much. And it pleases me. And I just paint to please myself. I think so many people who are musical also have a real affinity for the visual arts. It seems to be the same part of the brain. Can you see that? I don't know if that's going to show.
Yes, it showed. Beautiful.
Yeah. And that's a 5x7 foot canvas, so it's a big canvas. I've got one now that is about 10 by 8 by 10 feet. I don't know why I bought this huge canvas. I barely have room for it. I'm having so much fun playing with it. And I'll show you one more. This is one that I did back in the 90s. There we go.
Oh, very nice.
That's another 5x7 big. I like big canvases.
Love the colors. Beautiful.
So I think I'm probably kind of a colorist. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
And so
I would like to invite you to go see Meredith D'Ambrosio's website and her artwork.
oh, yeah.
I think that you will actually, she plays piano as well. I think and she just sent me, I forget what they're called exactly. They're like, she sent me, she's composed a lot of songs. Oh, paraphrase songs. Are you hip to that? So she'll take a song and a solo and write lyrics to it. She's really good at it. And it's called paraphrasing.
I will check her out. And when the record's out, the website will be redone and I'll have an art page and I'll be showing my paintings as well.
Cool.
So,
Well, maybe her site will give you a little inspiration.
I will
She's
check it out.
an incredible painter. Jeez, God, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. This has been fun, Cathy. I really appreciate you doing this with me you usually do it at noon and I just am not available at that time. So it's nice you did it tonight. Appreciate it. And your necklace, incredible. Look at that necklace.
Thank you. This is Turkish. I found a place I used to go to Bend, Oregon to visit my stepdaughter. And there was this beautiful little antique place and they sold a lot of Turkish, and the earrings too. So Turkish silver, and I love silver and I love this kind of stuff. So every time I'd go, I'd say to Gary, time to go to the store.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, I'm going to tell people who's on, and you don't have to remain on. You can say good evening, and I just want to thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been really fun.
Thank you, Cathy. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and I look forward to seeing you out and about soon.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too. Bye. So I just wanted to say that was really fun. Mark Christian Miller. He's such an active person in the scene. He really does so much, and I appreciate him a lot. And he's a really beautiful singer. He just, he sees the right stuff. You know what I mean? So a lot of you will see this on Wednesday, September 1st. And Thursday through Sunday, I will be showing from my archives. Thursday, the sax player Harry Allen. Friday, the drummer and raconteur Paul Krybeck. Saturday, great singer from Chicago, Sharon Clark. And Sunday, honored to have Mark Isham, who's a trumpet player, iwi player, and composer and arranger and score writer for many movies. That was really nice that he gave us 2 hours. So, and then next week will be bassist Jerry Watts. This is the live Monday through Wednesday. Jerry Watts, Wayne Pete on Tuesday, who's a pianist and more in the modern jazz genre, and he's an engineer. He's engineered a lot of people's recordings, including mine. And Wednesday is Laurie Meacham, who it was one of the creators of the Nashville Jazz Workshop, which, as far as I can see, it's kind of the jazz spot for Nashville, the kind of the central point, So we'll find out about that. You can always go on my website and see who's coming for the next month. This week, Thursday, September 2nd, I'm performing live in Playa Vista in Los Angeles at the Conference Room, which is a great outdoor venue, great food, great band. I'll sing the first set, and then I have jam people come up and jam, which is really fun and great. That's 6:30 to 9:30, and you can find out the information on my site as well, especially the parking information. Very easy, but it's kind of slightly hard to find the first time. So you'll want to get directions. Thank you, Joyce. What else? I wanted to tell you a little bit more. I have, actually, wow, it's really coming up here soon. Next week, Friday, September 10th, I am having my CD release party for my new CD, and that is Social Anthems Volume 1. And that will be at a home venue, not a tiny room, a pretty big and open space. And also that's on my site. You can buy a ticket on there. But the band on this, the piano player is Josh Nelson, but he actually had a major conflict. So he couldn't do the gig, unfortunately. But we got Gary Fukushima, who's one of my favorite piano players and who I've recorded with several times, and Anthony Wilson on guitar, and Edwin Livingston on bass, and Lorca Hart on drums, with several guest artists like Mon David singing with me, who also sang on the record, and Paul Jost also was a guest on this record as well. This is Volume 1. On Volume 2, which I'll be working on as the year finishes off, also will have Paul Jost and Mon David on it as well, with a different band. Always looking for something different, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is all the information that I feel that is necessary. I think that's it. So thank you so much for being here. Sorry that it wasn't live on Wednesday, but I really wanted to do a hang with Mark Christian Miller, so I'm glad I got to do that. We have a lot of exciting people coming in down the road. Billy Childs is going to be one of my guests, and gosh, Lorraine Feather, Jovino Santos, incredible Brazilian guy. Let's see, Joanne Klein, Sina Eeg. She was my first guest, and that was when I was not hip to Zoom, and I actually had her on my iPad on FaceTime, like right here. I did a few months of that, and so I thought I should have Sina on again. So yeah, she's coming up too. So I hope you have a great week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sending you out lots of love and good vibes. And I think what I've been doing lately is playing a little bit of my music on the way out. So actually, what I will do is, I think I can do this and not get shut down by so this is one of the cuts from my new record, and I made the music video. I think this one I also had my social media guy help me a little bit, but I made 3 or 4 music videos in the last year, so as singles, it was great. So here's this one. was but a song to sing. Fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains rain, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Right now. Right now. Oh, some may come and some may go. We shall surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Somebody holds the key, but I'm near the end, and I just don't have the time. Oh, I'm wasted, and I can't find my way. Can't find my way home. Can't find my way home. And I'm wasted. Can't find my way. Can't find my way. Can't find my way. And there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. See you soon. Bye-bye.